These are our conversations with functional and fractional leaders about leading across dotted lines with influence to deliver strategic impact and drive change. So there's our tee-up, and most importantly, the tee-up is about our guest, Kathryn Wilder. And Kathryn is a senior organizational development leader at Kaiser Permanente NCAL for the last 10 years, Northern California, where she partners with executives, senior leaders, and their teams to generate the culture, change, and leadership that impacts outcomes and mission success. Specifically in organizational development consulting, team effectiveness, leadership coaching. She's been a faculty at Center for Creative Leadership on multiple industry boards, and recently started Wilder Collaborative, which liberates the power of collective leadership for creativity, community growth, and transformation in a changing world. She has a PhD in leadership and change, and is just a delight, a luminary in the field, one of the best in the business, in my opinion, and a true pleasure to have on here. Kathryn and I have worked together since 2019 on multiple engagements with multiple teams across Kaiser Permanente, including we were connected on the one where the COVID cruise ship came into Oakland Harbor, and we watched that cruise ship dock with the folks in hazmat suits.
I'm so happy to be here, especially to talk about the unique value of this work that we've been able to do together.
So take us through some of the teams and experiences that we've had together at Kaiser Permanente.
Great. I think I'll focus on our care experience leaders, because I think that was the most direct, recent experience. Or I feel like I should say even a little bit just about Kaiser Permanente in terms of background in relation to this work. And we've got a high-powered expertise and professionals who, can sometimes struggle with building partnership, getting their experience recognized, valued, utilized, etc. And in this example, our care experience leaders we have care experience leaders in every medical center, and they function as many of our functions do, as consultants and experts, and they partner, or they need to partner with clinicians, nurses especially, and other employees who are interacting with patients and families. And it's more than just a partnership, because while the care experience leaders their whole purpose is around strengthening and improving care experience for our members and patients, it's really the nurses, clinicians, and other employees who interact directly who are the ones who own and drive it. And even though, we bring best practices around processes, metrics, tools, technology, the data, expertise, methods, the whole range, if we don't have that capability to strengthen our partnerships in a meaningful way, and have that influence, then we will not be as fully effective.
It could be a huge miss if it's not brought to bear, or in this case, creates Kaiser Permanente as an industry leader in healthcare because of the collaboration that enables it to come to bear.
It helps us to accelerate impact and momentum toward results and outcomes. Not only through operational efficiencies, cost cutting, our expertise, technical things, which are also critical, but then by layering on this ability to cultivate more powerful partnerships that invite the innovation, the shared commitment, and the ability to translate that into actions and practices. It's a chance for those care experience leaders to come together collaboratively to learn before, during, and after, and not just.
And if there is something that I want people to take away from this, you call out a great point, and then I want to come back to a couple of examples that you might be able to share with the team. And that's a collective question for teams, and it's an individual question, and they both have to happen. Because if I know, but my team doesn't know what we're really trying to do here, what change we're trying to affect in the organization and leave better than we found it, and are we executing on, what we are here for, that quite frankly, AI could nip at our heels and outsource us.
These that I see as core leadership, because leadership isn't just about your formal title or position of authority, as I know this, Lydia, but it's something that we generate together,
100%.
regardless of title. And this work helps us do that.
Tell me about that story, the before and the after. What were they experiencing before let's call it, stepped into their cloud and really?
Well, I mean, what this work really did was invite them to not only individually reflect on how am I showing up differently, and shift the conversations that they have, at least as a starting point. And I'll say more about that, pieces of this, of what they have to offer, or expertise or input. They're able to instead forge partnerships around it, especially with the nurses and the clinicians, and those employees who have the most direct. And a lot of it has to do with commitment and accountability too, because how do they allow or invite their expertise to get used, so that they aren't just showing up with, here's some data, here's some tools, here's some metrics, that you can use, and instead having the conversations that invite their partners to look at what do we want to create together? How are we going to do this? Who owns what? And when things, don't go the way we'd envisioned or hoped, how do we have those conversations?
Number one, there is a temptation that I heard you describe that is so true in, I would say, most teams that we've worked with, to be deferential, to be the order filler, because we are being of service. If I'm coming up against lack of accountability, that's a shared responsibility, but I can only control myself in having a different kind of conversation with that partner about what they might need to do differently to get different results. Kathryn, will you share from that particular team that you've already described, and it really colorfully, what the next level, the version of that conversation sounds like with cloud?
What do we need to get from this conversation? But not just my own intention, but the curiosity and the inquiry toward, asking that partner, who very often is, I'll just, to hypothetically, let's say, care experience leader with a chief nurse executive. And it takes courage as well as curiosity to ask them, what's your intention? What's your hope? What do you need from this? And, I'm happy to offer a simple little example of my own. It's not very glamorous or anything, but, I was in a conversation about an offsite, and it's with a panel of executives, and I had asked the executive consultant, I said, perhaps we could do a prep session in advance to make sure that they have what they need, and we're going to focus on, what is important to them. I don't know if we can get on their calendar for, that might be a little too much, because they're under a lot of pressure and they're very booked right now. And it would have been easier for me to say, or less risky, I guess, to just say, oh, yes, of course. And instead I just said, well, just to be clear, I'm not asking for their time for me. This is more, I'm offering a space to support them so that we can shape this to be what they want and need it to be.
But we can move towards that one conversation at a time, working towards
Absolutely.
more value. But if I'm a leader who hears that might stop me in my tracks. Dang, that woman has something that she really believes in, that she's not giving up on, that she must care about me and my team more than she cares about herself and whatever perceived pecking order or ask or role or staying in the lane or any of that. She must care about me. I got to give this a listen. We call it in the align conversation, that reset conversation about what are we doing together. And it's a 4-step process that we talk about: intentions, possibilities, commitments, risks. Intentions, we have to be clear about what we want to offer that person, the organization, and our intention in this conversation, how we can offer that to them. And the possibilities, as you talked about, is getting curious. Why is this important to you now? Tell me about your world and what you are experiencing, and the challenges that you're facing, and how I might be able to help you get to a better place. The commitments, you and me, like you and me, how are we going to do this together?
Right.
How do we address risks? What's one thing that you think a functional or fractional leader who is trying to drive change,
individually?
Yeah.
I would start with looking at myself, of course, but looking also at those relationships. Like, who is it that I need to partner with most closely to succeed, or who is depending most on my success? And what do those relationships look like? Where are there tensions and conflict, disconnect, or where is there strong trust and connection? And starting there about, how might I shift the conversation or show up differently in order to strengthen those partnerships.
And we've got a community that I hope listeners will join, where in 4 weeks, we take them through those steps that I just rattled off: intentions, possibilities, commitments, risks, so that coming out of 30 days, if you've got that one person, we want you to have a stronger partnership, whether you're coming from a preview sage or supporter mode. By 4 weeks in, we want you to be in trusted partner mode because of one conversation that you have. It is a pleasure to work with you. I think you are the best in the business. I really think that you are doing amazing things at Kaiser. They are really fortunate to have your expertise and your commitment, and all the other folks you're working with in Wilder Collaborative, for your time and the stories and all of your talents that you're bringing to the world.